Thank you, Ben, and thank you to the Chicago Council on Global Affairs, which has done such a terrific job of helping us do outreach to our citizens, because this alliance is only as strong as the publics that support it, and the public education component of the work we're doing has been fundamental to the project of hosting the largest international event that the President will host this year in his hometown. And as Ben said, he has been bragging a little about it. The Council is one of many think tanks we've been working with this year to highlight the critical issues that the President will discuss with his counterparts when they come together on the 20th and 21st of May here in Chicago. This is the third NATO summit that has been hosted in the United States since the alliance was formed in 1949, and it's the first time one has ever been held outside of Washington. What I'd like to do tonight is talk a little bit about why NATO is a pillar of international peace and security long after the Cold War, which was its original reason for being, is over. What relevance it has in the 21st century to the challenges that we face, and how it reflects the totality of our international engagement in the Obama administration. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning because I had the good fortune to accompany the President to his first NATO summit just 2.5 months after he became President. This summit had been on the international calendar long before he was elected and inaugurated. It was in April of 2009. And he traveled to Strasbourg, France. The summit was split. Half was in Strasbourg, France, and half was across the border in Kiel, Germany, to attend the 60th anniversary summit of NATO, at which the new Secretary General Rasmussen, was selected. And I want to read to you what he said at that event. "We cannot be content to merely celebrate the achievements of the 20th century or enjoy the comforts of the 21st century. We must learn from the past to build on its success. We must renew our institutions, our alliances. We must seek the solutions to the challenges of this young century." Over the past 3 years, these words have guided our work. We had a mandate from the President to revitalize NATO and ensure that it remained the most successful alliance in human history. It's also true that this alliance requires stewardship, and NATO is at its best when it is led by the United States. President Obama has provided the leadership that NATO has needed to reweave the fabric of an alliance that was badly frayed through a series of commitments abroad that challenged Allied unity. He came into office knowing that Europe's trust in the alliance matters, and that we had to rebuild the confidence of our allies in order to achieve our global goals. He also believed that NATO serves as the nexus of our transatlantic relationships, and that therefore NATO needed to remain strong for the relationships to flourish. Today, in significant measure due to these efforts, NATO stands united as an alliance. We saw this agreed in the strategic concept that was published in Lisbon in the end of 2010, which set forth the goals of this alliance, its missions and priorities. And it was really a way of stating, it's almost like a constitution for the alliance, what its commitments are going forward. I'd like to talk to you about the vitally important current operations that flow from that strategic concept, most prominently, as Ben said, in Afghanistan, but also in other places in the world. Our work together to make sure that the alliance is equipped to face the challenges ahead, not just the challenges of today, and our emphasis on valuable partnerships and relationships with organizations and countries that support NATO's missions and its values. These three areas, Afghanistan, defense capabilities, and relations with non-NATO members, are the focus of our work for the NATO summit 3 weeks from now, what bureaucrats call deliverables. On NATO missions, NATO has never had the op-tempo, that's a military term for describing the pace of operations, that it has today. It is busier than ever. In Afghanistan, in Kosovo, in the Mediterranean, and off the Horn of Africa, there are alliance military operations underway. The alliance also concluded a successful operation in Libya, as Ben mentioned, last year, which prevented a tragic loss of innocent lives. It's interesting to note how many soldiers are deployed under NATO flags, because you may not be aware of this. There are 125,000 NATO troops in Afghanistan. More than 3,000 miles from NATO's headquarters, not only are 28 NATO allies serving together, but 22 non-NATO partner countries stand with us in Afghanistan. Essentially, a quarter of the world's nations have forces under NATO's command in Afghanistan. And here I would highlight this crucial point that NATO has a standing integrated military command structure. It's the only organization on earth that has this. And that means that there's a multinational command with members of the militaries of all the 28 members who work together every day to make the alliance work. And they plan doctrine, and they train, and they exercise, and they equip, and they deploy when there's a mission that the alliance is committed to. And this is the daily business of this alliance. It doesn't come together as a coalition of the willing. It's prepared to respond any day for any contingency. And here, the Libya operation was a good case in point. Within 9 days of the United Nations Security Council blessing an operation to protect Libyan citizens, NATO planes were up in the skies, including the participation, as Ben mentioned, of a number of Gulf Cooperation Council countries. In addition, NATO has nearly 5,000 soldiers maintaining peace in the Balkans, which is really an element of unfinished business in Europe, where there is still the potential for conflict, which we saw so dramatically and tragically in the 1990s. And there are 2,000 NATO naval personnel conducting operations on the high seas, trying to prevent piracy and ensure freedom of passage. So we celebrate what NATO is doing and also want to make sure that in the future, NATO can continue operating at this level. And because of that, the President directed us to pursue a very, very deliberate and systematic effort to assess what kinds of capabilities the alliance needed for the future. Not just the capabilities we inherited at the end of the Cold War, and not just the capabilities that we need today, but what are the threats out there that we face or may face or will face that we need to plan for and equip for now. And those military capabilities span a number of domains. I'm going to describe some of the ones that we decided were the most important for NATO to field now, and what will be agreed upon at the upcoming summit. The best example of the President's commitment to NATO's capabilities and European security, looking ahead at new threats, is in the domain of missile defense. There is a proliferation of ballistic missiles to countries that we'd prefer did not have them, but since they do, we know that it's important that we develop capabilities to deter those threats, and if necessary, to defend our country and our allies from those threats, should a country choose to launch a ballistic missile in our direction. In the 2010 Lisbon summit, it was agreed that NATO would develop a ballistic missile defense capability, and the United States is providing the bulk of that architecture. We committed to deploying this as quickly as possible because we assessed that there was an emerging threat to Europe. And so in 2011, we were able to reach agreement with a number of allies to station elements of this architecture in Europe. And in the end of 2011, we were able to declare operational the first phase of the missile defense program. What we are working toward now is to transfer the command and control for the European element of our missile defense to our NATO command structure. And we hope that we'll be able to do that at the summit in a few weeks' time. Another element of our capabilities initiatives relates to the importance of having sufficient intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities in today's world. We saw in the Libya operation that even our most capable allies did not have sufficient, what we call ISR, that's the acronym, for doing the kind of work we did together over Libya. And therefore, we have made a major push to encourage allies to pool and share resources and buy ISR capabilities that will be dedicated to the alliance. This is called the Alliance Ground Surveillance Program, and again, we will reach agreement at the summit for NATO to acquire a long-range unmanned aerial vehicle capability that would frankly not be affordable to individual allies. But in a time of constrained budgets, we judged that it was very important that the alliance acquire this capability, and so we've worked to do it as a collective effort, in which the whole will definitely be greater than the sum of its parts. There are a number of other capabilities initiatives that we expect to announce at the summit, so I would encourage you to watch this space when we get to Chicago, because the leaders will be talking about them, and I think we can be very proud of the work we have done to ensure that this alliance remains vital and capable of living up to the Article 5 commitment that Ben described, in which we have said to one another, an attack on one is an attack on all. Ben also noted the importance of partnerships, and here I want to highlight how we are working with NATO partners. This has been a critical priority for the President as well, because although NATO is an originally regionally rooted alliance based in Europe, created to defend Europe against the Soviet threat in 1949, the threats we now face together are global. And so it's been very important to develop NATO's role as the hub of a global network of security partners. We train and we conduct exercises, and we plan and we engage in a wide range of political consultations with our partners. In many cases, NATO's partners hope that they will eventually become NATO's members, and we have used the partnership to stimulate and incentivize reforms in the security sector, encouraging countries to develop civilian control of the military, more professional soldiers, and reduce old weapons stockpiles. And in the conduct of NATO operations, as I said, we have partners deployed all across the world. Indeed, there are more than 6,000 troops from partner countries who are supporting NATO's efforts in Afghanistan and the Balkans. And again, that means countries that are not members of NATO, do not benefit from the Article 5 guarantee, but want to partner with NATO because they see the value of the relationship with the 28 NATO members. And this significantly reduces the burden on us. Our partners also contribute financially to our operations, conduct training for local forces to help make them self-sufficient, and add political support and legitimacy around the world. At next month's summit, the President asked that we organize events that would highlight and showcase the contributions of capable partners, and we're working to achieve that goal. So also on that point, I would encourage you to watch this space, because there should be some events which give credit to those partners who have stepped forward and committed substantially to NATO operations. Let me pause on Russia, because Russia is a partner of NATO and has been since the mid-1990s when I worked at the Pentagon. In fact, we just marked the 15th anniversary of NATO-Russia cooperation. I was in Brussels the first time a Russian defense minister walked into the hallowed halls of NATO, which for the Russians, of course, was the center of, from their perspective, the evil empire. NATO was the place that planned to respond to a Soviet attack and was designed to contain the Soviet threat. And in an effort to extend a hand to the Russians and show that after the end of the Cold War, we were serious about trying to transform the international security landscape, we invited the Russian defense minister to come to NATO. We have done a great deal of work since then to try to build a partnership with Russia. As you know, this has also been a signature Obama administration initiative. Last week in Brussels, Secretary Clinton met with all of the NATO foreign ministers and the Russian foreign minister, Lavrov, to discuss a range of issues. There are a number of areas in which Russia and NATO cooperate. For example, Russia has provided substantial support for the transit of materiel to Afghanistan. It's a significant conduit for supplies and personnel as well. It also participates in counter-narcotics efforts with us, and we have invited Russia to participate in the meeting of ISAF leaders who will convene at the summit on the 21st of May. There are also obviously areas in which we disagree with Russia, and one of the areas of disagreement is about the freedom that countries should have to choose their alliances, and we have been absolutely unflinching on this point. NATO's door remains open to those countries that qualify for membership, and countries can be free to seek that membership and should not be subjected to undue Russian pressure. We have also been very clear about our disagreement with Russia with regard to Georgia and its territorial integrity. Russia has recognized 2 breakaway regions of Georgia that are currently occupied by Russian troops, and we do not recognize those breakaway regions and continue to work hard to try to ensure that peace and stability prevails in the Caucasus region. The Russians also have questioned our missile defense initiative, which I described earlier, And the President has been very clear that while we seek cooperation with Russia on missile defense and can see value for both NATO and Russia in that cooperation, going forward, we are committed to ensuring that NATO will be defended by NATO with a missile defense architecture that will be provided by the United States. I want to conclude by saying something that Ben already said. As he noted, I would say it, because it's important for the countries who are represented here tonight, who are new allies, to feel confident that they're not seen as new allies. In this alliance, when a country is taken in, it belongs at the table. And you know full well that every country of the 28 has the same influence, the same vote. It's only by consensus that things are achieved at NATO. And we welcome the leadership, the energy, the imagination, and the courage of the countries that emerged from the breakup of the Soviet Union and who came out of the Warsaw Pact and who joined NATO since the end of the Cold War. Indeed, when the Vice President traveled to Central and Eastern Europe earlier in the administration, he said something in Bucharest, in Romania, in the great library there, that was very powerful. He spoke about not what we can do for our Central and Eastern European allies, but rather in terms of what we can and must do together. And our message there was that you have the opportunity to lead because you have been through an experience that is recent with achieving freedom and building new institutions, democratic institutions, building market economies that are competitive. And that is an example for many, both to your east, where there is still democratic progress to be made in countries as tormented as Belarus, in countries facing challenges like Ukraine, also in the Caucasus region, and of course further afield, where some of the countries of Central and Eastern Europe have played leadership roles already in working with the governments of the Arab Spring countries who are struggling to build new institutions. So, for example, Poland and Lithuania have played very significant roles already, and we look to doing more in partnership with our Central and Eastern European allies where they can set such a powerful example. So we remain excited about this alliance and very optimistic about its strength for the future. And I hope that you will enjoy having this major event in Chicago in a few weeks' time, which will celebrate this community and America's leadership in the world. Thank you.